Afternoon to all of them. Very happy Women's Day also to the people who have supported the institute and all, as Krishna said. And I'm really happy to be here today. And I think here there are maybe students and professors. I don't know what is the audience here. If you, Krishna, if you can tell me what kind of audience we have. It's only students here.
No, ma'am. So we have students, we have faculty members, and then we have participants of our Agri-Clinic Agribusiness Centers program. We may have some diploma in agriculture program students. So it's mostly the grouping here is students.
Okay. So anyway, good afternoon, all the students and the professors. So for me, let me share my presentation. I hope I have a screen share. Just let me just share my screen. Just give me a minute.
Sure, ma'am.
I am not able to see both of things. Just a minute. Screen?
Yes, ma'am. We can see.
Yeah, okay. So as I was saying, see, I believe what you see on the screen, I firmly believe this, that revolution can only happen when you change the mindset of a country. And I don't know, I generally prefer a very interactive session. Here I'm not able to see participants. I don't know if there is anything I can do, Krishna, setting so that I can see the participants' names and faces. I don't know. If
Ma'am,
I'm
once you're done with the sharing of the screen, I guess at that moment you will be able to see.
I did that, but I'm just seeing my screen and not able to see. So the students, let me just see.
Just click on participants.
Just click on participants, ma'am. You will be able to see the participants.
No, not this way.
Your shared screen, so you're not able to.
Yeah, I have shared screen, so I'm just not able to see participants. And anyway, so I generally prefer an interactive session. So here it will be all one-sided. I don't prefer monologue, but yeah, anyway, this is how it is. So whenever you want to speak, maybe you can, I don't know, Krishna, if it is allowed to unmute and speak, but let me just finish and then we will have a little bit of interaction.
Now, if there is anyone who would like to comment or say something in the middle, they can definitely raise their hand, or they could write in the chat box. We could ask for them, or they could themselves unmute and ask. Not a problem.
Okay. So, so how many of you believe in this, what is written on the screen, that, okay, until unless there is mindset is changed, one cannot really bring a revolution. So you can maybe raise your hands or something. But this is what I firmly believe. And that's the reason how many of you, because you are a young generation, how many of you are ready to stand up to this challenge and are thinking that you would like to change this country, you would like to change the mindset of the country, mindset of the farmers. That's where I have a lot of hopes with you, young generation. That's where I'm talking to all of the students, and that was one reason to I really love talking to the students. So if you see the theme of this year, it's a Women's Day. So the theme of, again, I'm not able to change this screen. Okay. The theme of this year is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Opportunity. Now, I don't know how much percentage of you people here are women out of so many participants here. But how many of the women feel that we had equal opportunity, or we, whatever, we did not feel so far? So how many of you think that I mean, in villages, in rural India, even in corporates, there is a lot of disparity between male and female working, the the pay and the salary. But how many of you till now felt that there was a disparity, whether it was in academics or whether it was somewhere in any other experience? So here, the woman on this world, in fact, wants and deserves an equal opportunity. They want an equal opportunity, free from stigma, free from stereotypes, free from violence. They want to achieve this future. They want the future to be very successful and with an equal opportunity. This is what every woman in this world is deserves, right? And when we talk about this city women in the corporates everywhere, but even in the rural India, and you must have realized that during the COVID times, we have seen many of these women were like in forefront. Whether it was casual labor, whether it was nursing, whether it was doctors. So there were many women who were running this COVID show. In fact, you have seen also the women who were leading some of the countries and the states have dealt with COVID really much better than their male counterparts. Similarly, if you see our women in village, what happened? During the COVID time, the first thing which we have seen was the reverse migration. So when we saw about the reverse migration, we have seen that many of these youths have gone back to their villages. In such a situation, what has happened there? That is one thing which I want to bring, how this COVID has affected rural, and this is one of the study. But then this was the study done in April, where not much impact was seen, but still you would have seen that the first impact was that they have to reduce their food items. I mean, because the people who returned from them, they were actually bringing 40 to 50% of their monthly expenses or the annual expenses, and they went empty-handed. So the first thing was their food items were reduced. They started having meals only maybe once in a day, and there were a lot of other things you can see. But what has happened apart from that, the manual labor for women also increased. The number of people were more at the home, so the woman has to go and fetch woods or maybe fetch water, maybe the cooking. So the strain on the woman really became much more, because woman not only does the household work, but she also helps in agriculture. She does she in fact fetches water. So all this, the woman from the rural gets was also badly affected because of this COVID. So if we consider, because our talk is more focused on women and agriculture, I'm just taking examples of around of women in agriculture. If you know, according to Mr. Swaminathan, the women were the first. I mean, the science of the farming was started by women. The male counterparts were going and hunting, and the women were the ones who started, okay, collecting the seeds, sowing the seeds, and then started farming. So the farming was domesticated, and the science of farming was initiated by women. Now, if you see the current situation, you can see on the slide that intercultural operations, harvesting, sale of farm produce, storage, all this kind of animal husbandry, this is really done by, majority of this work is done by women. And 70% of this manual labor you would see are the women. But if you see the kind of wages they get is very less compared to male. None of the state in India is every state in India has women's wages are very less compared to male for whatever work they are doing. So that's the problem. So and you see that women are there in all these kinds of menial work, but when it comes to decision making, women are still not there. There are hardly any women when it comes to taking a decision about any of the policies or any of this village thing. So that's where it is also missing. So one thing is that one can what you can bring the change only when the woman you awaken the woman. So for that purpose, this self-help group was formed. So self-help groups are there for men also there, and the women also there. They are no combined self-help group. I think we are all management students. You must be knowing about HSGs and all that. So the reason for forming the self-help groups was to empower women, right? So here I would like to take a break and ask you these questions. How many of you think the self-help groups are really I mean, helping women? Have you read about self-help group? Do you have any of your views about self-help group? Maybe we can just take a break of 2 minutes. I would like to hear from the students. I don't want a monologue. So maybe Krishna, I think you can ask if any of the student would like to speak about self-help groups here, because you're all agriculture students and I think you must be knowing much about this.
Yeah, if there is anyone here who would like to comment anything about self-help groups, you can even comment in Hindi, not an issue. Hindi and English, both languages are fine. If there is anyone who would like to tell anything about self-help groups, their experience, or if the faculty members, anyone in the faculty members would like to say something, that is also fine.
I would like to hear some views about self-help group and then we can go ahead.
Mr. Subrotipto Basu Chaudhary, he
Yes,
has
sir.
raised his hand. Would you like to comment something?
Yes, sir. Sir, can I speak in Hindi?
Yeah, yes, I would.
Yeah, go ahead.
ओके गुड आफ्टरनून मैम। मैम सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप में क्या होता है कि जो औरत जो काम करते हैं, मतलब जो फार्मिंग का काम करते हैं बाहर में, जो आपस का मामला है, जो फैमिली मैटर है आपस में डिस्कस करते हैं, और जो इंटरनल फैमिली मैटर है आपस में डिस्कस करते हैं, मगर ये लोग का इनकम नहीं है। अगर इनकम नहीं है तो इनकम जनरेट करने के लिए आपस में एक ग्रुप बनाते हैं। ये लोग हैंडीक्राफ्ट का काम कुछ बनाते हैं जो ये लोग सेल कर पाए। अगर सेल कर पाएंगे तभी तो इन लोगों को अर्निंग होगा। अगर अर्निंग नहीं होगा तो एजुकेशन या और भी जो नेसेसिटी चीज है, जो फैमिली को एक्सटेंड या सोसाइटी डेवलप करने के लिए जो चीज चाहिए, ये लोग तो नहीं जान पाते हैं।
Yes, that is true. So this is what I wanted to hear from you. Yeah, so self-help groups generally इसीलिए बनाए गए थे. I mean, I can either speak in Hindi, English, if you prefer any of these languages. अगर ऐसा कुछ है तो maybe.
Ma'am, go ahead with English, ma'am, because there are some who may not be very strong in Hindi.
Okay. So this self-help group, as we discussed, is I mean, again, the self-help group इसलिए बनाए, we made the self-help groups are made by NGOs was only to empower women, as he just pointed out that some financial earning can happen, or so there are reasons for that, so that women can be empowered, they can do their earning. But the problem is that there are many reasons. What he just said, this is in a picture you can see all that why self-help groups have made. But again, one thing is that these are again dependent on NGOs, right? So that's a disadvantage. So we have to really make the self-help group itself very empowered, so that they are not dependent on NGOs or government. If they can actually become their whole generate revenue. So for example, what happens in the self-help group, the handicraft, all that they can do. But let's say now I'm talking about the technology. Okay, there are many startups, there are many companies bringing in the technology. Now in this technology, what happens when we want to train these farmers? Generally, what happens, woman is taking care of so many things. She is taking care of the house, she is taking care of the farm, she is taking care of the kids, she is taking care of everything, cooking and all. So whenever this training happens, it happens that they are not they are not actively part of it, and they are kept away from that skill development. So in such a case, they are away from the technology. So my ambition, or I feel that we also have to make this women self-help group aware of the technology. They should also be trained for the technology, and they should also be involved in the decision making. Only then I think this whole woman empowerment will happen. So this is now, since we are talking about the agriculture, if you think that there are three factors, I would say: good food, good health, and good environment, right? These are the three important factors which are makes livelihood sustainable. Now, if you see, agriculture is the one which connects all three, right? If you see agriculture, if you follow good practice, less pesticide, less chemical fertilizers, then you are helping environment. So it becomes good environment. You don't put over irrigation and more fertilizer. So if over irrigation happens, water contamination happens and all that. Sorry. water contamination happens. And then again, the environment. You make more fertilizers. The companies which are producing fertilizers are releasing gases, then again adding to greenhouse gas emissions. If you use more of this nitrate fertilizers, then the release of nitrous oxide, it is again a greenhouse gas. So if you don't follow good agriculture practice, you are harming the environment. If the environment is bad, you don't really make a proper produce. So, and then if there is a proper produce, you make good food, you make, then there is a good health. And once you have a very good health, your happiness index increases, and the farmers will not sleep hungry. That is what the most important. If everything is in a balance, the farmers who are producing food for us happens to sleep hungry, our marginal farmers. And that's where we want to bring a change. The farmer which are our producing food, our small farmers, should also be as a part of the development. The whole development should be inclusive. So when we are talking about food agriculture, and let's bring in how the food industry works. Here, if you see the food industry, if you see the entry level people, both, there is not much disparity between men and women. But as you go up the ladder, you see that the disparity starts increasing. There are less women in the, again, decision making, or a role of management, or CEOs and CTOs are in the politics. So what happens in that case, this disparity, so here people, I mean, I would again stop here and ask everyone to think about it. How can one reduce this disparity? So it is not only for the women to think about it, but it's also the males who are sitting here, the men should think how they can reduce the disparity. So how, I mean, I would really like to hear one or two answers, at least from both men and women, that how they feel that disparity can be reduced. आप हिंदी में या इंग्लिश में, कोई सी भी लैंग्वेज में, जो ये डिस्पैरिटी है मेन और वुमेन की, जो कि मैनेजमेंट लेवल पे या डिसीजन मेकिंग लेवल पे, इस तरह से हम मेन और वुमेन की डिस्पैरिटी कैसे कम कर सकेंगे? I would like to hear from women also, and I would like to hear from one from the men also. I prefer, it's a Women's Day. A woman should speak up. I think why is everybody mute? Why is nobody speaking?
Is there anyone who would like to comment now?
Hello.
Yes. Hi, Rakhi.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon.
मैम एक्चुअली मैन और वुमेन में अगर ये डिस्पैरिटीज कम करना है, तो जिस तरह से मेंस लोग डायरेक्ट कोई भी डिसीजन फॉलो कर रहे हैं, लाइक दैट वुमेन्स ने भी वो डायरेक्ट डिसीजन फॉलो करना चाहिए. उनमें खुद का कॉन्फिडेंस एक होना चाहिए कि हम ये चीज कर सकते हैं.
Yes.
हाँ, और ये ज्यादा सोचते हैं कि अगर ये चीज आगे बढ़ के, जैसे अगर कोई कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर में अपन काम कर रहे हैं, तो ये ज्यादा सोचा जाता है कि अगले इंसान को क्या फील होगा. बट ये चीज मेंस लोग नहीं सोचते. वो डायरेक्ट उस पे रिएक्ट करते हैं, और वो उनका जो डिसीजन रहता है वो स्ट्रेट रहता है. तो अगर लेडीज भी उस तरह से वर्क करे, तो कॉर्पोरेट लाइफ में वो आगे बढ़ सकते हैं.
Yeah. कॉर्पोरेट लाइफ भी हो, कोई भी, मतलब उसमें
कोई भी लाइफ में हो, एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर्स में ऑल्सो.
या, और रिस्क लेने की कैपेबिलिटी होनी चाहिए.
राइट मैम.
कि कोई भी चीज, I mean, I prefer that nothing is easy, nothing comes easy, and for women it's still more a struggle compared to men. I mean, so I would say गिरना तो बहुत बार पड़ेगा, लेकिन हर बार उठना भी पड़ेगा. You have, I mean, whenever you fall, you should be rise. There will be some supporting hand sometimes for you to give a hand for you to rise, but sometimes it may just happen that there is nobody. You may have to stand up on your own. So that's where I think, if that strength, if that power, and I think all the women have that power, it's just that we have to tell ourselves ki, yes, we can do it. And then I'm sure you can do it. And I would like to hear now one from men, how you can help reducing this disparity. Is there nobody who wants to speak? You don't want to be part of the revolution? You don't want to empower women?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, good
We
afternoon.
are
Yes.
so happy to have you in our Asia Talk. Yes, we are always a part of empowering women. There should be awareness about women's and gender inequality in places, in workplaces. The awareness should be created in such a way that sometimes the women are women are also overwhelmed, and they are providing less wages to women based on the gender. So we should create awareness among all the members of the society right from our childhood to create those gender equity.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, I fully appreciate. I think until unless every man starts thinking that way, it will really help. I think the women themselves have to be strong. I think all of you are going to be sometime be a part of a family where women will be there, and I think if every male takes care of that, I think there won't be any disparity in coming future. And we have a lot of hopes from you young generations. So now let me just go through some of the people, I mean, some of the leaders, and I would like to know what kind of leaders you want to be. There are social leaders. I mean, I will just show. So you know all of them, right? You must have heard about them. So these are all our social leaders, and these people actually stood up, right? Malala, she took a bullet, but still she stood to her what she wanted to say, right? So life is not easy for all these three also, right? But they stood up for what they think, what they believe in, and that's where we want all women here to. I They can be social leaders, corporate leaders, whatever, but whatever you believe in, be firm at that, right? Again, these are two corporate leaders, right? You must have heard about Indra Nooyi. We are really proud of her. She's from India. She has been CEO of PepsiCo, right? uh, she's into again a food business. So I'm just showing the examples of people who were in food business. I don't know how many of you heard about Dennis Morrison or Campbell. So she is again an American CEO. So the thing is that both are great leaders. Uh, but I appreciate Dennis for the reason that she was the one who thought about conscious capitalism. And now maybe if you know about conscious capitalism, it's fine. If you don't know, I would request every one of you to go and read about what is conscious capitalism. And here this lady, when she started, she first thing she is I said is that I would like my consumer to know what is there in our food. So she started a website group, and then again that what's in my food.com, right? So every produce, every soup or every Campbell had okay, whether this food was sourced from whether it was a GM food or whether it was an organic or how the food was grown. The consumer should know what is there, whether how healthy is that thing, right? So that is where she started. And business also, I mean, generally people prefer that okay, business means it's always going to be unethical. No, but the business can be ethical. And what one believes in, uh, even though you're doing business, so you build the relationship, you build the network. This is what is going to help you in future. Efficiency is one thing, that how efficient you are, how efficient your people are working, your employees are working, but also how much connected you are, how much you understand, how kind of relationship you develop with them. That's going to go bit more far than just being an efficient and just like an employer-employee relationship. Being in agriculture, I think you must have at least know about Mr. Subhash Palekar, right? So he is the one who believes in natural farming, zero budget natural farming, or you also call it SPNF, that Subhash Palekar's natural farming. He believes in no chemical, no this thing. I mean, no pesticide, and he believes with all natural farming one can do. And now government is also trying to follow up what he's trying to say. Then there is this Mr. I don't know if you know about Dr. Shiv Chopra. He is again Indian from Punjab in Canada. He is a Canadian microbiologist. He also stood for, he is again an activist. All three of them are kind of an activist, you would say, that he also stood and say that no antibiotics. I mean, I think you should read more about it. This is not the forum where I would discuss about them. But you must have also heard about Dr. Vandana Shiva. She is also an environmental activist, and she also believes in that in business also you should, when you're doing a business, I think in India, if you see, there are again, I mean, I won't take the names, but there are two kinds of business. Somebody who is just growing and growing and growing, not knowing where to stop. But when you do a business, you should also know, when you call about conscious capitalism, you should also know where you stop your business. So there are examples of both types of business in India. That business which is just trying to grow and grow, there is never an end to it. And there is a business where you also know where to stop and look back and introspect. Similarly, these are again some of the leaders in technology leaders. So I showed you some of the social leaders, then I showed you some of the corporate leaders, then I am showing you some of the technology leaders. Now, there are this technology. She is the CEO of AMD, Analog Micro Devices, processors. During her tenure, they have actually brought Xilinx, which is again a very big company. Again, the other Ms. Guinea is from IBM, again from YouTube CEO. Now, why did I put my picture here? These people have achieved a lot. The reason I have put my picture here and there is a question mark is that, okay, these people have achieved, and here we should also have the confidence. Maybe we'll do an incremental achievement. May not be we won't reach there. Maybe we'll reach there, but at least we should have that dream. We should be able to take that risk. I mean, otherwise, I mean, when I was making this slide, I thought, what will students think? Oh, am I too, I mean, showing off? Why am I putting my picture? These people have achieved a lot. I am still a startup, struggling. We have our own challenges. But I said, until unless I have the dream, I want to impact the farmers, I want to do something. And I'm very proud to say that I was the first, I mean, Krishna said we started 6 years back, but as part of my PhD, actually I started in 2011, my PhD, when I started to look at agriculture as one of my research topics, right? Developing sensors for that. So we are, and here I have so many women sitting here in the audience. I want to know who is in that going to be in that question mark. How many of you dream to be there? And more, when you're dreaming about that, what are the strategies you are going to use? I mean, I think nothing happens just as it is. I mean, my generation, I'm kind of, I mean, I don't have any problem to say I'm almost 53 years now and started my entrepreneurship at 50, right? I'm almost like your mother says. So where we did not plan so much, we did not have that kind of scope, we did not know much about it. Whatever struggle we could do, we did engineering. That time even the engineering was not there too much among the women. So I at this generation, you people have I'm sorry, you people have all the scope, you have all the, you can be anywhere in the world, you can get information from anywhere in the world. So dream big, strategize what you want to do, whether you want to be a social leader, whether you want to be a follower, whether you want to be a corporate or into technology, wherever you want to be. Plan your things, strategize, be prepared to fall and again rise. I mean, I have seen a lot of entrepreneurs. In fact, I would give an example of myself. I mean, when we started, four of them all came together. I mean, three of them are males, I was female, and then I had one more director. So we had kind of an equal combination of male and female. But then what happened? Everybody thought entrepreneurship is something, what you call, you have an idea, people, you will just go, people will just give you money, you will raise a VC funding and things will just, but it is not easy. You only see success stories, you don't see the failures, you don't see the sweat, you don't see the depression and that kind of what we go through. In fact, we keep going through it. I mean, it's day after day, challenges are there day after day, struggles are there day after day. So be prepared, because it's like in mutual funds, high risk, high returns. Similarly, this is also, entrepreneurship is also that there is a risk, but be prepared to face it, have your plans ready, have your plan B. So that's where, and I just hope that one of you really get inspired to be there on that question mark wherever I have put that. And is there anybody, at least you can raise your hands and say that, yeah, we would like to be one of those technology leaders. So now, since we were talking about agriculture and all, let me just give you a brief overview about where all, since this is an agriculture college, where all the agriculture can impact. Because majority of the problems in Indian agriculture, in fact, not in India or anywhere, can be solved by technology. Some are like by policy, but so you can see a different snapshots here, different views that where all technology can be used in sensors, it can be used in information technology, robotics. Again, genetically modified crops, you are the one who, I would like to hear your feedback, what you think that GM crops are good or bad, because there's a lot of research which needs to happen over there, and that's the reason I put genetically modified. Neither I don't I mean believe whether it is correct or whether it is wrong. I don't want to leave my what you call my views on you, but I want you to think and say what is right here. So there are different technologies here which we can use in technology in agriculture. So now just a brief about proximal soil sense before I finish my lecture. So here, as we were saying again in India, in the countries away from India, like Israel and US, you see all the technology-driven agriculture, right? And there are everything is automated, everything is sensor based, everything is precision agriculture. In India, again, our GDP, whatever the 50% of the labor force, 17% of the GDP, still going down, lot of problems, farmer suicides, right? I don't want to say that everything is negative. There are certain things happening, but still there is a lot to happen. So various problems, right? Over irrigation, depleting groundwater levels, climate change, food security, right? All those things are there. So how we can actually change that? So what SoilSense is trying to do is SoilSense is trying to develop sensors and IoT platforms where you can capture the data, acquire the data from the field, analyze the data based on the feedback from agronomists, based on the feedback from you people who are actually into agriculture. We are engineers, so there is where the collaboration between engineers, technical people, and people like you is really very important. And then accordingly, suggest to the farmer what is best. And it is not that we want to do everything from like what you call the technology is a magic. No, it is not. What we also need to understand is there's a lot of traditional knowledge which is already there with the farmer. So we have to take that traditional knowledge, because there is huge traditional knowledge, and say how the traditional knowledge can be supported with the technology, and then we can actually bring the impact in the agriculture. Going and telling the farmer that, okay, we have such a magic and we can do this, I mean, it's not going to help. Farmers have a lot more knowledge than, and they have been doing farming since ages. So what is a SoilSense? I mean, I'm an organization, I said, but it is a higher purpose organization. What I mean to say is not that I want to do business. I'm a for-profit company, but at the same time, my mission or my motivation is to bring impact, right? So it is not that I just want to some build sensors and some sell it to the farmers and done. I don't want to do that. I want to work with the farmers. I want to work with you people. I want to see that the impact is finally the impact what we started with, what the thought what we started with is finally achieved. So these are different products we have developed so far, which is a moisture sensor to control irrigation, and an IoT platform so that the data, moisture, temperature, humidity, all that data can be collected. And then this data is available on the cloud for analysis. I know 80% of the farmers in India are marginal. So in fact, this stationary system will not really help marginal farmers. So I actually created a portable which can be bought by FPOs. And I'm happy to share that I'm working with 4-5 FPOs where this portable system is bought by them, and they are now training them. I mean, I had last, because of COVID, I'm having online training sessions with the farmers and the KVK extension officers. We are training them how to use this system. And I'm just hoping that this portable system can be used by marginal farmers to collect the same amount kind of data which expensive systems like 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupee systems are doing. And then we also have a weather station. Sorry, we also have a weather station, again an affordable. We are also working on a, this is one of the new product which I am really looking for, which I feel that can disrupt the agriculture. It's based on, again, nanotechnology, sensors and all. So this is kind of a glucometer for soil. So what you see is a small strip here, that red color thing in between is a small strip which can be connected to a glucometer kind of an instrument, small glucometer, and a drop of any soil solution will give you the pH, nitrate, potassium, and phosphate. So that's where now our field trials are going to start in Hyderabad soon, and I would definitely be happy to come and demonstrate to you people and use. I mean, would request Krishna that how this technology use, students can also try it and give your feedback on this. So this is something I'm hoping that you will. I mean, instead of sending a soil sample to an agricultural lab, now you are actually taking an agricultural lab to the field. So by this is my last slide, just to tell you that there are so many different, I mean, I would say that topics are domains where all of you can work with respect to agriculture and food only. And you can be a social worker, you can have a restaurant, you can be have a food processor company, government policy. So there are huge different disciplines are topics where you people can think and work wherever what interests you. So do whatever interests you, do whatever is your passion, because if you do something which is you're passionate about, I think even working 16 hours a day doesn't tire you. So take your pick, plan your things, and let's make a difference to Indian agriculture system. So thank you, and now I'm open to all the questions and answers. I hope I don't know what is the time. So I think I'm well in time. I hope now all the students can actually discuss and talk and tell me whether they felt motivated. Did they feel motivated? Are they ready for a change? Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was an excellent talk. So I myself am feeling so inspired now to do something. And you have clearly stated, and you are an example that age is not a factor. You can start and do whatever you're passionate about at whatever age. And you are an example of that. So thank you so much. Actually, I have a question before I open the floor to others. So I know that you were at that moment trying to figure out how this technology, the soil sense technology, can be implemented with Western Maharashtra farmers. And I guess you had started a trial with one of the big farmers in Pune when I met you in 2017. So how is the entire soil sensor ecosystem growing as of now, and where do you see it going in the next 2 years? It is not related to Women's Day, but still, I just wanted to know.
No, that's perfectly fine. So let me tell you. See, I told you once let me tell you a little bit about how soil sense started. So we started in 2000, whatever, 16, 17, before we started research. So I visited IRI, Indian Agricultural Research Institute, before starting work on any of the sensors. And we realized that the major problem was okay, moisture, water. If there is no water, agriculture is not sustainable. So we started looking at moisture sensor and developing those and making a system. Then when we did that, when we started field trials, we realized that farmer water is important to make agriculture sustainable. It's all, but farmer has many more problems than just saving in water, right? And for him, I mean, there are other problems like crop loss ho jata hai, no market access. So we also realize that there are many more problems. So you have to bring a solution. You cannot take one solution to the farmer and say that now the second solution will be provided by some other person and third solution. Farmer gets confused. He doesn't want to work with 10 different people. So the collaboration is what we want to do. So what we did after I met after is that we did some pilots just to see the efficiency of the system, just to see the efficacy, whether the systems are stable in the field. So we did that, how much water saving can be done. We did pilots with corporates, we did with farmers, we did in different crops, we did with research institutes. But one thing is now that I am looking at collaborating with people so that the farmer doesn't have to go to 10 different people, right? There is one solution where he knows where to fetch seeds from, where to, all the data is available, where the data is there, where to give the market access. So once you have this combined, I would say integrated platform, then that's where farmer will be interested. And we have started doing that. So we are doing collaborations, we are taking the systems that way. I hope, Krishna, I answered your thing. And even for other students also, I would say that doing things in silo is not going to help you or agriculture. Please try to collaborate. Generally, what happens, the entrepreneurs have this tendency, or the companies have this tendency that they don't want to collaborate. But in agriculture, at least you need to collaborate if you want to impact the farmer. That is what my, my personal opinion or view is. You
Thank
might
you.
have a different opinion, I don't know.
I totally agree, and we have some agri-clinic, agribusiness center students also, and for them, I guess the message from you is collaborate and not work in isolation. So we have Dr. Gauri Shankar Rao who would like to ask a question. Sir, you
Sure.
can unmute your mic and ask.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, Dr. Razul.
Good
I'm Dr. Gauri Shankar Rao. Currently, I'm working as Dean in Narsi Monji Institute of Management Studies. You might have heard about this university, NMIMS Mumbai.
Yes,
And
yes,
we have a school, we have a school of agricultural sciences in Shirpur, Dhule. It is just 2 years old, And actually, I'm very much motivated with your presentation and the last few words of your encouragement, like one should collaborate and associate with industry as well as the research institutes. Means like we are also trying to associate with Dr. J. Adinarayana of IIT Mumbai. You might also heard.
yeah.
In fact, we are planning to establish a strategic, what we say, big data management as well as agri advisory services systems, where we want to use a lot of sensors and big data available with the sectors, with different sectors. And we want to, in fact, you might also heard about Dr. Sri Amrish Bhai Patel, ex-education minister, who is our chancellor. He always talks about crop advisory services as well as prediction of various factors affecting the farming, like moisture as well as nutrient status of the soils, all this stuff. So after listening to you, I thought like we should initiate a sort of strategic association with you, so that as an institute, we will also try to part with your research programs, as well as it also helps our students to learn and grow in their life. I think you would like to appreciate our approach, please.
Sure, I'll be very happy and we can have an offline discussion based on this. But I'll also tell you one thing is that,
please.
See, I have been an academician for 25, 26 years. I have joined IIT Bombay as a master's student in 1992, right? And then I did my PhD and I'm in IIT since long. So academician mindset, if you want to be an entrepreneur and really go to the industry and impact it, you have to shed away, or maybe you have to balance your academician attitude with an industry. I have learned it in hard way.
Exactly.
So just a research, I'll tell you, I started my work with an IRI, which is one of the, you can say, IIT of agriculture, right? Exactly. But slowly I realized that they are good researchers, but you also have to, take the feedback from the actual stakeholders, which are farmers. We assume certain things that, okay, this is what the farmer needs, this is what he would need, and we develop something and then go to the farmer is not the right kind of strategy. First, understanding your own stakeholders, what they need, how they need, and what they can pay for it is the most important, which I learned in a hard way. So I'm telling that it is better for the students to first understand what is the farmer's condition, what they need.
Exactly, ma'am. Actually, maybe I will talk to you in offline, as you suggested. Personally, I was also an entrepreneur. I started my career with ICAR. I worked with one private-public partnership initiative with MICO Foundation, where we were, in fact, publicize, what we say, popularize the public sector technologies through private sector. And I could proudly say I was the first person who earned royalty for IRA, 34.6 lakhs as royalty for their first Basmati hybrid in this country, Pusa RS10.
Oh, wow. That's very good.
So I understand every word what you are saying. It's like academicians should shed their, I would dare to say ego, and understand the business element in that. There is money in everything. Resource generation is very tough for public sector, and it is also feels like it is a bread and butter of private sector. I understand. No, so for doing these things, we whatever you said, that is absolutely right. And in fact, we also started, though our college is just 2 years old, we started with a very basic aspect of village adoption program, and where we are associated with village farmers of few villages in our Tehsil, and we are trying to understand their requirement and we are trying to address with some solutions found in and around the country. Like, it's not like we will develop the solutions for them. Definitely solutions are there somewhere, but we want to address their problems with the apt solutions by associating with various people. That is basically our approach, what we wanted to do it. So maybe associating with your institute will definitely help us in addressing certain issues like use of moisture sensors. Even today, I'm very happy to inform you that we have in our engineering college, which is associated with the NMMS, there is a club for drones. Students club is there for drones, and today they are giving a presentation to our agriculture students in the campus. Means like, this is how we are trying to marry technology with the farmers' lives, and definitely would like to seek your help in this aspect. Thank you.
Sure. I'll be happy.
Thank you, Dr. Gauri Shankar Rao, sir. I think so. We should also look for opportunity how FABs and Narsimhanji institution can work together. As we are having less time, I would like to ask. So, Mr. Pawan, you have asked a question. Would you like to speak for yourself? Because I'm unable to understand what you have written. Basically, he's written water sensitive stages for each crop indicating to provide. So, Mr. Pawan, would you like to ask your own question? Mr. Pawan? Okay. Maybe.
I think what Pawan, maybe I don't know what he meant, but he's saying that based on the moisture, or maybe the crop needs can be known by the moisture values. Of course, yeah, water that is possible. I think irrigation for plants also shows system of requirement of moisture.
Ma'am, there was one question from one of the participants who was registered, and she's asking, could you suggest some innovative work from home business ideas for women homemakers?
Okay. What kind? I mean, in agriculture. I mean,
yeah, maybe you could say in food and agribusiness space, maybe.
Oh, there's a lot, I think, and one can actually do a lot. I mean, I would maybe look at if somebody is passionate about cooking. The millets are something very healthy food, and our India really grows millets. So make some nice recipes, and maybe if somebody is passionate about cooking from home, then the millets based recipes will really go, because it's very healthy. And nowadays, many of these working women doesn't have time to feed their kids a healthy food. And instead of giving that packaged Frito-Lays or something, let's have some good food and healthy food, superfood based out of millets. I don't know. I mean, if this has answered one of, but there are many other things also one can do. So people can write to me, and whatever is there in my mind, whatever association it is possible, I would like to, I mean, see how we can associate. If I can connect to some organization who can take, I mean, help of your services, I will also suggest that.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. Actually, we'll take maybe one final question, because we have to wrap it up by 3. Okay. So Shravani Sanapala, she's one of our students. She has asked that Rajul ma'am, would you be able to give your one-line view on the title "Women in Leadership achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. So post-COVID, so would you like to say 1-2 lines, ma'am?
I would say pre-COVID or post-COVID, the women have to achieve equality. And I mean, that's the reason, one of the point I always focus that is the woman who has to stand up. Nobody else is going to come and help you. If you can't help yourself, nobody is ready to help you. And it is like, I would say, woman is like a river. I would say, I will give you my example itself. You're like a river. You be at it. Even if there's a, you will make a way and will move forward. So be at it. And nobody is going to stand for you. You have to stand for yourself. Then only you can change the world.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone who would like to, one who would like to ask ma'am something or would like to comment something? We have 2-3 minutes. You could just unmute your mic, introduce yourself, and go ahead. Is there anyone? So, ma'am, there are few students who are asking for your email ID.
Yeah.
So, if you could just mention that in the chat box.
Yeah, I'm just giving it. Or even if they don't get it, you can also share it. I don't know.
Yeah, I will share it. I will share your email ID, ma'am.
Because I have shared it, but in case if anybody wants, you can also share it.
Yeah.
I hope I could inspire at least some of you young women there to take up some roles which would impact the world, the country.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. So some people have written, thank you. So, ma'am, I guess with this, we'll just close today's talk. Any final words of wisdom from you, not just for women, but for students working in the food and agribusiness space? Any final words of wisdom from you?
I would just say that whether it's a woman or man, the entrepreneurship is, I mean, be confident about it, but be prepared also for it. I mean, it's not going to be easy road ahead, because agriculture is a difficult thing but we have to create an impact. We have to help our farmers. So, I mean, I would just encourage you to come into it, collaborate, and be at it. I mean, that's what I would say, whether it's a male or female. It's not an easy world. So